Hi, I'm Jayne.
And I'm Jesse, and this is the tiny house that I started building as a teenager.
And I've been living here with Jesse for the last 5 years.
This video is sponsored by Ridge Wallet. To get 15% off your new Ridge Wallet, click the link in the description and use code FLORB at checkout. And remember to subscribe.
I grew up on the land next door, and when I was a young teenager, I was really wanting my own space. I was like living in a tent outside because I wanted to just like be outside more and be in nature. And when I was 17, I started building this with lots of recycled materials and things I scrounged up along the way. You might have actually seen this space already in a past video on this channel, and a lot has changed since then.
I moved in about 5 years ago. Since then, I feel like we've gone through pretty much every corner of the house, taken everything out and put it back in, like reorganized like where all of our clothing goes and where all of the stuff goes in the kitchen. And like one of the major differences between us is our height.
You know, Jayne has her own countertop that's her height now, and there's all these sort of little nooks and crannies that we've rearranged and just ripped things out and put back together because we found that our needs have changed from what mine originally were.
In every tiny house, you get to choose like how you prioritize the use of your space, and we've really prioritized cooking. So like pretty much 3/4 of our house is like built around like food storage and cooking, because that's really what we like to do and that's how we spend our time.
I feel like as much as the tiny house is our space, the whole land is our space. And one of the reasons that we've been so happy here is that we really use the outside as our house as well. I really like that. I like having to go outside when it's freezing cold. And I think that sort of integration with nature is really special.
All right, so this is our tiny house, and as much as we live inside our house, we also love to spend time outside. So I'll show you, this is our wood-fired oven here. When I got here 5 years ago, Jesse had a small cob oven, which a couple years ago we knocked down, and we built a brick oven. So the inside is all brick, and then the outside of the oven is concrete and perlite, which is insulating, so it insulates the heat. When we have a fire, there's heat then for like 24 hours afterwards. So this roof is protecting the oven. All right, so we'll go down to the sauna here. So this is a small garden with some perennial herbs and greens and flowers, and then we grow a bunch of garlic. We've got all sorts of firewood here. We will go through about a quart of firewood in the house in the wintertime. And then this is all pine down here, which we use for campfires. And then this is our sauna. We built this sauna starting a couple years ago, and we wanted sort of a shower that we could use in the wintertime. I also really love saunas, so we'll heat this up and use this for bathing in the wintertime. We haven't moved it that much because mostly we've enjoyed this location that it's in, but the thought process is that we could move it if we ever wanted to move it to a different spot on the property, and then if we ever wanted to tow it like to a friend that had a lake house, we could bring it to the lake and jump in the lake. So yeah, just an option for moving it. This stove right here is actually the stove that used to be in the cabin. It's a lot better suited to the sauna because it heats up super fast. You feed the stove from the outside, and on the inside there's slats in the wood, so any water we use can drain out the bottom, and there's a little sheet of insulation that just blocks wind from coming in the bottom. It's 4 by 8 feet wide, but because the walls go out, you get a little bit more room. The benches are all cedar, and this is made of pine, but everything that you touch is cedar. Smells really lovely. Pre-COVID, we once had about 9 or 10 people in here, so we really squished it, but mostly it's just been Jesse and I using it. All right, so I'll take you up to our screen house here, right this way. This is our screen house that we built last summer. And sort of the inspiration behind it was wanting like a permanent tent, sort of guest house space that could be used in the warmer seasons. And also for any time that we had friends over during bug season. Bug season in Maine can be pretty gnarly. So it's nice when it's hot out to have a bug-free space, and sort of a yoga studio of sorts for me as well. We used to have a yurt on the property, and for us, because we weren't living in it, it was hard to maintain in the winter time. So we built this with the idea that we could use it in the summer and the roof would shed snow super easily. It's screen on either side, so screen here, and then clear roofing on one side just to let a lot of light in. And then the other side is screen as well, so we get really good cross ventilation in here. I love these small windows, and I love that like sort of you get the whole view of the forest from the roots of the trees to the very top. And you would think that maybe it would heat up a lot in here in the summertime, but when the leaves are all on the trees, like it's really lovely in here. It feels like you're sort of tucked in the forest. The only purchased materials is this clear roofing because we specifically wanted that, but otherwise this is reclaimed metal roofing and just wood that we had around or milled. This is a little portable box for solar power that Jesse built. This is actually wired to a small solar panel that's right on the other side of the wall there.
So now that we've seen the stuff outside, let's take a peek inside. So this is the mudroom, really handy in cold weather places to have like a unheated sort of airlock to come in and out of. It's sort of our summer kitchen. We have a little propane stove set up, grain mill that I inherited from my folks. We use to grind our corn for cornbread and grits and things like that, and also flour for making bread. You know, it's big and heavy, but it works really well, and we love using it. So that's about what's going on in here. It's just full of gear. Things are a little bit different than they were last time you were seeing this, mostly inspired by the things we've needed to change from living here together. We have tuned up the kitchen area. I'm such a big fan of this foot pump we got. It's a dual stage foot pump. I first got like a cheap knockoff one and it didn't work that well. It broke. I couldn't get replacement parts. So we've got the real deal now. It's made by Whale. It's an awesome product. You can get parts to fix it. It moves water really fast. This is the Whale Gusher, I think it's called. I was walking around Home Depot looking for a faucet, thinking about what I could use. I found this stainless steel hot water heater pre-connect and decided that looked like a cool faucet. So we made a faucet out of that. And we've just got a water bucket that we refill for our clean water and a drain bucket that the sink goes into that we have to empty. So it's a super simple system. We also got a soda stream and like plumbed that into a tank under the sink, so we have endless bubbly water, which has been really fun. Done some upgrades on our solar system. So we have 4 170 amp hour 12 volt sealed lead acid batteries, which give us a little bit more juice in the wintertime. I also threw some additional vertical panels on the outside of the front of the house. In the wintertime, we just leave them vertical so they get that low sun and they don't ever get covered by snow, so we always have a little bit of power coming even if we're not here to clean off the panels on the roof. Just this summer I added a bigger inverter to be able to run like a food processor, a little air conditioner on those super hot days. Previously, we've just had a really small little 300 watt sine wave inverter made by Morningstar. It's a fanless unit that's basically just like a big chunk of aluminum heat sink, so it's super quiet, and I think in a small space, that's a really nice feature for an inverter, to be able to have, you know, power for our computers and things where we're not hearing that fan and that hum all the time. Over here, there used to be just like a filing cabinet and some milk crates for storing random kitchen stuff. And now that Jayne's here, we discovered that the countertop that I had built was way too tall for her. So we kind of came up with this scheme for a sort of custom height bread kneading countertop, which has some built-in storage for things. I think one of the things about building some more built-in little nooks and crannies for storing things has been the ability to have a little bit less visual chaos in here. And that I know is something that is really important to Jayne, and I also appreciate. It's really nice to be able to sort of tuck things away, and obviously there's still a lot of things out. Something that I really like about kitchens, if you go to somebody's kitchen who has cabinets everywhere and you're like, oh, I want a glass of water, and you're doing this, trying to find a water glass, that's not very convenient or welcoming in a home. And I think that it's really nice to have the things that you use every day or that a guest might look for when they come to your house visible, whether it's on shelves or behind glass doors or something. Over here, this is probably one of the biggest new things. I talked about it in the last video. I think it was sitting out under a tarp in the front yard, and now it is here. This is our tiny house mass heater that a friend of mine designed. It's 900 pounds of thermal mass, and once it's warm, it radiates heat for 12 to 18 hours. It's really nice, gentle heat. We can cook on it in the winter, and it's been a game changer for tiny house life here in Maine. Because it's such a gentle heat coming out of it, it allows us to not only put it closer to the wall, but it allows us to actually function near it in the winter. We can lean on it. It won't burn us on the sides. It doesn't get too hot, except on the cooking surface. So we've actually gained space in our house by putting a larger item in it for heat. Before the Nook was here, there's always that stuff that doesn't quite have a home, and it was always just piled everywhere here. And something that I really appreciate about this space is that, you know, we've taken up a considerable amount of our floor space putting this full-size furniture piece in here, but it's actually created a home for a whole bunch of things, like our daily, you know, backpacks and bins full of the little random things that we didn't have a home for, a whole bunch of bulk food storage underneath. So that's something that's been a big takeaway of how we can better utilize the space and take up maybe more room initially, but then actually have a cleaner, more functional space afterwards. Upstairs, we have our bed loft. It's just pretty much just a full-size bed. We have little cubbies at the head and the foot of the bed for storing our clothes. We've realized that we don't really need like a huge bedroom. We just need a place to sleep. And I think it hasn't changed a lot because it hasn't needed to change a lot. We still have this catwalk here. It is not often used. It's not very practical, I've learned. It's not wide enough to be practical. And at some point here, we may make it wider or actually like loft in more of this space to make more useful room upstairs. But in the meantime, this has kind of proven to be one of those things that was an idea that now is a stuff collector. Having that sort of long-term perspective on being in a space, I think has been really amazing and fun and an adventure every day. There really isn't anything in here that we can't rearrange again. And I think that really goes for a lot of houses, and hearing people talk about like getting a design dialed in right, like I don't think you can do that the first time, and that's totally fine. And it's been good to learn that like firsthand, like that is totally fine. One challenge of coexisting in a small space, I think, is just how two different people live in their space sort of clashing. And in our particular case, I'm more comfortable with clutter and mess than Jayne is. We have like occasional sort of moments where we sort of have to reconcile these differences in how we use our space and realize that like we have to deal with this and figure it out right now, because there's not any space to put it aside for dealing with later. And I think that's something I really appreciate about this lifestyle, is that things can't really linger too long.
I feel like the challenges of living in a small space together are also like our growing opportunities. All the different changes we've made are because we came up against some sort of challenge where we're like, like this was working for you and now it's not working for us. So like we need to, like this is just showing us that we need to make a change here. And I feel like that's been the challenges, and growing pains have also been the reason that we love our space so much.
I'm definitely not always an eternal optimist, but like I really like the fact that like all of these things that could be considered struggles very quickly turn into opportunities for making things better or for some kind of personal growth. And I think just looking at it through that lens is how I want to be in the world in general. It's exciting that way, and easier to like wake up every day and be excited about the next thing that we're doing, instead of sort of getting dragged down into the weeds of what are we going to do next.
This is the Ridge wallet, and it is the wallet that I use on a daily basis. I'm a big fan of the minimalist design and the quality construction. This one is my old wallet that I used for years, and you might note that the designs of the wallet and the Ridge are similar, but what my old wallet was lacking was RFID protection built into the wallet. And in fact, I kept an RFID blocking sleeve in that wallet in hopes that it would do the job. But the Ridge wallet fixed that issue because it has RFID protection built into the wallet, which in my eyes makes it as good of a design as I can think of and my daily carry. The Ridge wallet comes in over 30 different colors and styles, including this gorgeous burnt titanium, or my favorite, the North Shore. It's such good quality that it comes with a lifetime warranty, and the Ridge wallet has a 45-day money-back guarantee, so you can try out the wallet, and if you don't love it, send it back and you'll get a full refund. Also, you'll be supporting this channel by clicking the link in the description and using code FLORB to get 15% off your Ridge wallet today. It's a great wallet. Click the link now and have a great day.